Hello everyone, my name is Efwa Ede with Social Impact Consulting. I'm a development consultant with 20 years of experience working with NGOs, international NGOs, and bilateral agencies to work in project support, monitoring and evaluation, and civil society strengthening. So now, I saw that local NGOs lack the capacity to manage large-scale projects, which can in turn impact their various communities because they have the connection based on their backgrounds. So this made me create this channel so that I can add value to you for free once you subscribe to this channel and get notified of upcoming videos. I look forward to hearing from you.
Hello everyone, how you doing? This is Efwa Ede with Social Impact Consulting. This is another exciting session of Devsectorseries, guys. This is awesome. So if you are, wherever you are kind of hailing from, just make sure you give us a shout out. Just let me know where you're hailing from, whether it be Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Malawi, Kenya, anywhere around the continent or around the world. Just let us know where you're hailing from. I am extremely excited about this guest that we're having today. I mean, he is just awesome in my book. You know what I mean? He's an entrepreneur, he's an innovator, he's a data advocate, he's an activist. I mean, I can go down this laundry list of who he is, as a person. So I'm very excited. Like those of you who are just here for the first time, Devsectorseries is a platform where we share ideas with development sector professionals and technocrats. They talk about what they do, what drives their passion, and how they are maximizing social impact. So this is some really, really exciting stuff. So, trying to really work on doing this Devsectorseries weekly, but we may be pushing it to bi-weekly because a lot of my friends are saying that they don't want me to burn myself out. So, but I'm excited. This gas is going and going and going, because what happens is that when I talk to various speakers, they just fuel me to keep going, like because of what they do. Speaking to Adaku Uche Ekpo, talking about the philanthropic trends in Africa, talking to Hamzat Lawal, talking about follow the money and what they're doing with the movement, breaking it down to how the market woman pays taxes. Can you imagine? Talking to Charles Abani, talking about the Sustainable Development Goals and how the UN is working with all stakeholders to make that happen in a place like Africa. So when I'm hearing all these interviewers that I'm talking to, I'm like, okay, who's next? Who's next? Who's next? So it's like, it's kind of like a gas that fuels me to keep going. So what I'm going to do right away is I am going to just share the video bio of our speaker today. He is Mr. Oluseun Onigbinde. He is the co-founder of BudgIT. Okay, so when I started working in the sector, when I moved to Abuja, I kept hearing budget. Looking like at their infographics all over the internet about the budget. I think we Nigerians, when we were looking at the budget before budget came into the scene, we just saw it as this big abstract piece of paper that nobody wants to be bothered with, right? But budget said, no, we are going to break this sucker down, and we're going to put it down for folks like you and me to understand. And it's because of that, it has been a tool for organizations all over the country to advocate and communicate with their elected officials, with their appointed officials, so that they can all work together, And so me now, I reach out to these innovators and I say, hey, I'm having a training. Can you come and speak? And all of a sudden he was like, oh, I'm even going to be in Abuja at the time. Let me just come and talk to your audience. And look, y'all listen to me. You guys are in for a treat because I was blown away. I was blown away. The audience was blown away. I mean, and you know what? When he came to speak, this was about 4 years ago. When he came to speak, I approached him like, "Well, do you have a PowerPoint slide, to share?" He was like, "Mm-mm, I'm good." I was like, "Okay." Okay. And he came and he was just like, it was amazing. It was amazing. And so when I started Devsectorseries, I said, it just won't be right if I didn't invite him to come and share about data and advocacy. And the very funny thing is that they have been able to be so strategic in building partnerships that the data is actually being used, because everybody mining data, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people, a lot of organizations, but actually mining this data to be used, amazing. So enough for all my tapping about this special guest. I'm going to share his video bio and I'm going to bring him up and we just going to get started. Okay. All right.
Onigbinde is the co-founder and director of BudgIT, Nigeria's civic organization. He is the recipient of the Ashaka Fellowship, Future Africa Awards, Quartz Africa 30 Innovators Award, Aspen News Voices Fellowship, Melvin Jones Fellowship, and Stanford's Draper Hill Summer Fellowship. As a Knight Innovation Fellow, he also worked with the International Centers for Journalists, Gates Foundation, on rethinking health journalism in Nigeria. Oluseun has worked on several projects funded by the MacArthur Foundation, Gates Foundation, Ford Foundation, Open Society Foundations, Oxfam, and Omidyar Network. Oluseun Onigbinde concluded an Obama Foundation Scholar at Columbia University. He is a pioneer visitor to the United Kingdom for British Government's International Leaders Program, ILP. He is a graduate of engineering at the University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. He had the executive education at Stanford University's Graduate School of Business on social entrepreneurship. Allow me to present to some and introduce to others Mr. Oluseun Onigbinde.
All right. Hello. How you doing? It's so good to see you.
I mean, you really looked bigger than I was. I mean, the only thing I was expecting some drum rolls, some fires, I mean, maybe somebody in my own house, some balloons, because you all sound like, I mean, it's like, I mean, but thank you so much for your kind words. I mean, you would make a good dramatist. I mean, it's really beautiful. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I mean, you guys, and this is why, I started this, because you guys do so much great work. And, a lot of times innovators and people who work, they just work.
Yeah.
They're really not looking for anything. Just like, okay, the work needs to be done. Let me just work. Yeah. So it's like, sometimes it's good to just look back and see, like, look, this is what I've done. It's like, and from the way I'm looking at you, is like, I'm working. Okay, I don't know this. Okay, I need to learn. Okay, let me get another fellowship. Yeah. Okay, I'm working. Man, I need to find out. Okay, let me do this fellowship. So it's like, that's so sometimes it's just good for folks to just see, hey, you know what I mean? Look, this is the work that I'm doing. Let me communicate it. And it also, I believe that it would just inspire the rest of us to say, hey, we need to do more. We need to just keep pushing. So I just thank you for the work that you do. And I really appreciate you for even sharing your work, because you've been, in fact, I conducted an interview with Bumia Kiyemichu from Venture Garden Group a couple of weeks ago, and he spoke about BudgIT. Yeah. I said, yeah, speaking of BudgIT, where is Seun? Is he back in the country?
Yeah, so that's an
So
old boss of mine. Yeah, yeah, incredible guy. Yeah, and it's
yeah,
a pleasure speaking to you too. I'm glad, and thanks for doing this.
yeah.
We don't tell enough of the stories in the sector. And I think we need to do much more of that. I mean, being able to
Yeah,
talk about our impact, our journey, and I'm glad to do this. Yeah.
yeah. So we're just gonna just kind of get started. So my question to you now is, when you started budget, and when the budget story, it's like, how did people receive your concept, trying saying, hey, I want to make the budget easier for people to read, and I want to gather data. How did people receive that when you all initially started?
I mean, receiving the ideas of budget, it was. I felt like people welcomed it. I mean, it was the very early days of social media, and I guess that was the first platform where we tested our ideas. That was when we first pushed the conversations around budget, and the reception was good because people said, okay, we've been looking for someone to validate data. We'll be looking for someone to say, okay, if we said A, are we sure it is A? Or if we said B, are we sure it's B? We wanted a space where people can validate that area. So when we came on social media, and truth, God bless Co-Creation, they had this lean startup strategy. So before you go and start looking for millions of dollars, they want you to test
Hmm.
that your ideas are solid and are doing great on a small scale. So from there, it was just, let's push it to social media. Let's even see if the reception will be great. And to be very honest, it was really, really great. A whole lot of people felt like, oh, we wanted this. We were looking forward to this. We wanted an idea like this. So the reception was amazing. And we were lucky that we now had Occupy Nigeria in 2012, where, I mean, that time the government was saying everybody should bear the burden of fuel price increase. The government was not showing any form of leadership in terms of cutting on costs. So people were waiting and asking, okay, you're saying I should do A, B, C, D, E. Why is where what are your own changes? What changes are you making at the end of the day? And because of that, we were very, very useful during that period. People were looking for ideas around, okay, um, how much is the president using to eat, how much is the president using to for how much is the medical bill of the president, how much is the travel bill. We became someone like a truth teller, in a way, by bringing the data to the people in a simplified way. So I think in the very early stage, the reception was great. It got a bit challenging as we went along the way with government and how they perceived the work. But I mean, from the people, we felt encouraged at it.
Okay, so that means that it was encouraging for the people,
Mm,
and one thing that helped you, it was like you were able to come across the platform of Co-Creation Hub for
mm,
you to really test out your idea and make sure that it worked before pitching it to others. So you at least had the support of the public,
mm,
and then also the support of social innovators to kind of help you push things along. So let me just kind of go into this. So what why is is data important for advocacy, especially here in Nigeria?
I mean, so thanks so much. And you can see that in this era we have, everybody's talking fake news, fake news, all of this. And it's extremely important that we put data on the front burner in that regard, because a whole lot of times when people are making conversations, or they're trying to even demand much more better side, they still do it in a Yaluta way, very emotional laden, very, very narrative driven and things like that. In a way, sorry, in a way, it's the way they build the conversation.
Okay, no worries.
Uh, in a way, it's very emotional laden. It's not based on the facts. Um,
Mm,
People say, we must fight, we must scream, we must shout. And a lot of
mm,
people from the advocate, from the public sector, they don't respect that much, because they know that you are not speaking to the facts, you are not speaking to the true stories of people. So what we built in budget was that let the facts and let data lead the way in how we work in the public sector. And it's not like we're trying to snoop or we're trying to find some hidden data. No, the data is presented by government and being published. Let us use that as a means to hold them accountable. So that was like the push that was the workaround for budget. And
Okay.
it was extremely important that we do this because we want to build a sector that is well respected, where we are able to not we're building conversations on the basis of evidence, because that strengthens our argument and stamps even those who resist our own ideas. So we're working on together. These are the facts here. And that's able to also build much more larger conversations. So what we have done is to be able to go beyond even the data part to say how can we even put the view of data literacy and simplify and make it much more easy so that we bring more voices to the group. And that's why it's about the whole using graphics interactive application. Because even data it needs to be communicated and needs to be properly communicated. If you don't, communication of data is as important as data itself. So I have data and someone can even communicate data wrong. So in a way, we also felt we also have to bring up data literacy, simplifying it and interesting. The thing is that we as a sector we are always we are solving systemic issues, which are all convoluted and all joined up together. We need data to really untangle them and take them piece by piece and really show how does investment in education or investment in education, how does that lead to inequities in the society? How does that create situations around banditry and insecurity? How does that really reduce investment coming into the country? I mean, it's all connected together. So being able to bring all of this data together and synthesize them and build a narrative, and I think that's what I think we have for the work that we're trying to. So I mean, it's all about data from the side of it.
And I feel like you all have really changed the narrative in terms of because sometimes when you're advocating and you're being sentimental, there are a lot of gray areas, and I felt like you all just changed the narrative in terms of, hey, these are the facts. This is their House of Assembly budget, and this is how much is allocated to their salaries. So it's like you were able to just say, look, this is what is going on, case in point. And one thing that stuck out that I realized is the infographics that you all use in terms of communicating it, making it so simple for the public to understand, and organizations are able to even use it. So now we're talking about the use of data. So let's talk about some of the type of data that you communicate to the public. So one thing that I wanted to find out, how has BudgIT brought the awareness on the cost of governance, and how did that go?
I mean, so recently, I mean, 2 days or 3 days ago, we've been going, public in a much more very loud way on mission of capital project, match of project, between where you find a ministry that is supposed to be, I know forestry, giving solar lighting systems. I mean, you can't even find a correlation between an institutional mandate and service delivery. In Nigeria, we always say we have a revenue problem, but we also have an expenditure efficiency problem, which means even the little we have is so wasteful. Waziri Adiowi is a former executive secretary.
Hey, Seun, can you? I think there's a bit of an echo and a sound in your in the mic. Does anybody agree in the audience, or is it just me? So it's a bit of.
Let me try. I don't know why that's happening, but give me a second, just a second.
Okay, no worries. Okay, this conversation is getting very interesting. So please hang tight, and if you have any questions, please make sure you put it in the comment section, because after we go through the interview, we're gonna take questions from the audience. Okay. So you take questions for the audience. But I see Mr. Ehis Inaholo from Asaba. So I see Dr. Bridget Egmoha from Lagos. I see we Sabari Samuel, thanks for coming. Beulah Dakwojo Suleiman, thank you so much. Ebenezer Egwatu, Barrister, thanks for coming. Sahid Shokumbi. So we're just trying to get the sound straightened out. Once that happens, we will get to you shortly. So this is really exciting stuff because he's going to be talking about data and advocacy, and I'm sure some of you folks from the civil society sector are already aware of BudgIT and how they've even, and if he has been able to, if the data in BudgIT has been useful in your organization as well, make sure you note that in the comment section as well, so that we can take a note of that as well. Okay, I think Seun is ready.
Yeah.
Hi.
I think this. I tried to change my device. I don't know what's going wrong with that.
Okay.
I hope this is better.
Yeah, this is a bit better. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay, awesome. So we're talking about the awareness of the cost of governance and BudgIT being a bit more deliberate about some of the conversations. And you talked about the forestry ministry and solar lighting and some of the correlations. So
yeah, so I was saying that we just don't have a revenue problem. We have an expenditure efficiency problem. And it's the way we see public office in Nigeria. Opportunity to just amass wealth or to free the public. That's what we constantly have in Nigeria. Waziri Adio recently wrote a piece called The Limits of Personal Example. Waziri Adio is a former executive director of NEIT and NAIT. And he was trying to remind us that in a way, there was a way he denied himself all the old trappings and opportunities in public office.
I see.
Just because he understood that public office is a place of trust and you must jealously guard that. But we don't have that in Nigeria. That's why you say a politician driving on the road and you have 15, 16 cars and he has a retinue of 8 and he has military and government, police and NCDs, everybody's all around trying to protect this little man. It's a big mess. We've highlighted some of these dysfunctionalities over the years. And one of the things we worked on was, especially in 2016, when the budget padding issue happened, when people would, after the preparation of the budget, certain people would start attempting to the budget for their own personal.
I see.
Yeah, and we were able to build a strong narrative against this, and some of these projects were removed by the National Assembly. So, in a way, we've constantly also always analyzed projects with National Assembly. So we've gotten almost, I mean, I'm sure 800 projects removed from the budget based on our National Assembly. But we're still not excited at the end of all of this because, I mean, you look like. You look at maybe a member of parliament in the UK or maybe even the House of Rep member in the US. There's nothing about that job that makes you live more decently than an average person in that country. I mean, it's not like an MP in the UK is like multi-millionaire or multi-millionaire. He's not even allowed to trade that access or privilege for any kind of opportunity. But like in Nigeria, you see the guys in office is the one awarding contracts, is the one deciding who get in and everything. That's where we make all the compromises and inefficiency continues to grow. So we've been on that door, but to be very honest with you, I don't think we have tried. I won't say that we have made the kind of dent that really want us to do. And it's just because political will in trying to force change in Nigeria has been grossly lacking. I mean, the current government, the huge story was change. The mantra was change. We're going to change our. But we see that at the end of the day, the more things change, the more they really
so. Honestly, it's just. But I see that the awareness is there because sometimes the flagrant impunity and when it's exposed, you don't even have a rationale for it. So that's what makes them remove some of these items in the budget, you know. So So now this is a very good segue to the next question. So how has the government received your work on transparency? How did this start? I mean, how were you even able to get access to even show to the public? How was it received? What was the story about that?
I mean, I always tell people that maybe there are no new ideas. I mean, every new idea is a combination of old ideas.
Yes.
The budget already was there for the taking. It was on the Budget Office website. In 2011, Nigeria signed this Fiscal Responsibility Act that
Mm-hmm.
says that the details of the budget must be made public, and that process began by pushing the
Mm-hmm.
budget online. And so the budget was always there. The problem was that Nigerians were not interrogating with the budget, they were not analyzing the budget, they were not bringing it
Mm-hmm.
forward. So the budget was always on the Budget Office website. Someone just needed to be able to bring that out, break that down, simplify it, and being able to retail it and share that out to people. And now we had a combination of we were in a democracy, because I tell people if we were in a military regime, there would never be a budget. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody actually accepts accountability in that kind of environment. If we had social media, was able to accelerate the visibility of the work and the impact of the work. So an environment that needed much more access to information.
Mm-hmm.
So that we're able to build budget and get much more awareness of those issues. So
Mm-hmm.
build, so those were like the key elements in terms of the work. I mean, the acceleration of social media, the availability of the data itself, and the hearing gap from the people. They wanted this bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
in a way,
see.
we were able to now say, okay, this is the data we have. Now we need
Mm-hmm.
more data. For example, we only got the national data, the federal government data. We needed subnational data, like state data, local government data. We've gone through a lot of work with the World Bank and other partners that has moved budgets, state budgets. We had at the beginning of budget around 2015, we only had access to 8 state budgets. Now all the 36 states have all their budgets public now, and we are able to have access to it.
I
We're able to
see.
make deliver that to the people. So in a way, we're building those conversations gradually. We're changing the paradigm of that environment. To ensure
I
that
see.
there's service delivery to the people. Then we build partnerships also with other CSO organizations like
Mm-hmm.
EIE Nigeria, like Connected Development.
Mm-hmm.
We also believe that the way they undo data, the way they also do advocacy is also critical to our mission or to our work. So that's how we have been able to build those strategic partners over the years. After we've done budget for a while, we felt we need to make this thing not just about fancy design. We need to concretize it. It needs to
Mm-hmm.
animate. It needs to make sense to the people. Then we decided to build Tracker, which tracks public projects on a daily basis. So now, beyond the budget just being like a line item in the sheet, now it becomes reality to people on the
I
streets.
see.
You know,
I
um,
see.
yeah. So in a way, I'm thinking that's the way we want things to be. From from
Mm.
from from getting the budget now, people can now read it, understand it. Then we now did work around Civic too, where we also have an incubation space to encourage young people that want to do accountability, transparency, or form their own organizations. We also do that in that environment.
Very, very interesting. You just highlighted something about the strategic partnerships that you've built with
Mm,
organizations
mm,
like Connected
mm,
Development and EIE.
mm,
So,
mm,
can you just talk more about that? How how was that partnership beneficial to continue to promote data for advocacy? Because these are two very strong advocacy organizations. So how was that able to even distill down to the public, and them being able to use the data to advocate for what they need in
mm.
society?
So we connected development and with the EIA and Paradigm Initiative and the
Mhm.
Future Africa. The work we do is to see is to see the complementary element of it. Because of donor resources can force you to look as if you are all trying to be competitors in a way. But the field is
Mhm.
big. The
Mhm.
is so large. And so in a way we are not even scratching the surface. I mean, maybe until we reach
Wow.
the last Nigerian, That's what we can say. Yes, we can find ourselves a problem. But there's a long way to go in terms of being able to
Mhm.
engage Nigeria, be able to mainstream these issues. So it's a bit of symbiotic partnership. Like for example,
Mhm.
budget and connected development work are working on COVID-19 project, COVID-19 tracking, called CTAP. We were doing all the conversations on how do we ensure that COVID-19 funds are accountable. We had a session which we met where we did all the analysis and we laid out all the old data for the public. And that's one of the things we want to do much more. Find organizations whose work resonates with us, who combine with us, and being able to build on the basis of that. That's something that we feel really yeah.
Interesting. That is really something.
Mm,
So
mm,
so like I know, can you just talk a little bit more, because
mm,
we're still in this whole COVID
mm,
19
mm,
wave.
mm,
With this COVID
mm,
19 wave and funding coming for COVID 19, whether or not it
mm,
was appropriated or misappropriated properly, and all that. So I know that you're doing some work with connected development on tracking COVID 19 funds. And very ironically, I actually interviewed Hamzi the day before the event.
oh,
So I'd already
oh, wow.
registered for it. I got an invitation. I registered for the event. So as I was interviewing with
Mm,
Hamzi, he was like, "Oh yeah, we're at an event and we're working to present the tracking of COVID 19 funds." So I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll be there tomorrow." So can you just talk a little bit on how you were able to track it? Did it lead to any form of accountability for the public with regards to COVID 19? And what's the way forward on that?
I mean, so so working with AMSI has been a beautiful journey, and it was for us to say that if we want to do a task as huge as that, we need to
Mm-hmm,
bind this together. And one of the keys, and I'll put it in three ways. One is
mm-hmm,
that we were checking the adequacy of funding, and because okay, someone is facing the economic effects of COVID-19, either because sales have plummeted, or either because there was a lockdown, or
mm-hmm,
maybe he or she has lost his job. What are the support
mm-hmm,
that the government has provided for such persons? Is there an
mm-hmm,
adequate system? Is there a system that is that adequate? You say you give a 2 bags of rice to a community of 40 people, 80 people. I mean, what sense does that? So we were able to, we're first checking what exactly is the size of government support? What impact does that make in the context of the problem and challenges that we face? We were also now looking at the transparency and the accountability system of the distribution. Did the funds or the support get to the people intended, or there's a toll system that's been created by some private interests, to limit the support, to provide limit the support to the people downstream. So those are the kind of things that we were working with, and we have had 2 or 3 reports regarding this that the government has not done enough in terms of being open and transparent. Some of the projects that they tag as COVID-19 support funds are not really aligned to the issues around COVID-19. And also, thirdly, that there is no adequate citizen identity framework that directly targets support to people. Like in the US, the government was writing a check for people, for like I think, and once the check gets to you, you don't need to sweat it because based on your tax
mm-hmm,
filing system, the address that you put on that place, that's where the check is finally going to come to. And
mm-hmm,
that's the way we should work as people. We should be able to
mm-hmm,
build a social contract framework so that citizens contribute to the system. And when they face challenges based on the economic health of the country, the government can also provide support to them. We think that's a fundamental problem. Nigeria does not have a strong or a social contract structure, and that's a really big problem in our house. But where we have seen is that we find a bit of courage in how some states or even how some federal government has handled some parts. But some parts also we find that there is a grossly lack of transparency. For example, the school feeding program. We've done a lot of emails, engaged with them, we've not seen any sort of response in that regard. Okay.
That is really, really interesting with
You
regards to that
Yeah.
is really, really interesting with regards to
Mm.
the tracking of the
Yeah.
COVID-19 funds and
Mm.
what, and with,
Mm.
like you said, Nigeria's social welfare system, there's really no system. It's like, I think
Mm.
one thing that I've noticed about Nigeria is that we're more reactive than proactive.
Mm.
So now we're
Mm.
like, okay, we need to give people fund palliatives for COVID-19.
Mm.
We don't have data. We don't have a list of people and their address and their, okay, let's see how we can
Mm.
get it. So
Mm.
it's one of those, one of some of those issues. And of course, um not hearing from them with regards to
Mm.
transparency is
Amazing.
also another issue
Mm.
that comes to bear as well. But
Mm.
so that is really something. So I feel like, at least as one of the stakeholders, I feel like budget has made a lot of waves with regards to transparency, because like you said,
Mm.
the budget was always there, but ain't
Mm.
nobody looking at it. It's like, let me just sort myself out. But budget has been able to distill it for us to understand. So we've gotten to that point now. Where do you
Mm.
think so what do you think the future of data is with advocacy?
Mm.
Because I know you're at the forefront of even some of the stuff that's coming out that the rest of us don't know. You guys are already knowing about it at this point. So what do you think? So what do you think the future of data is with advocacy? And I'm going to talk again to the audience. If you guys have any questions, please put it in the comments so that we can ask him, questions about our conversation with regards to data,
Mm.
advocacy, what budget is doing, and what have you. So, where do
Mm.
you think we're going in the future with regards to data and speaking up for our rights as a country?
So I believe the future of data, mostly one is in synthesis. One is that we must be able to bring different data sets together, and being able to mash them together and being able to have more a level of insight. For example, look at this current pandemic. We did not see this coming. But if we were more mindful, we should have seen this coming, because we should have understood that those are health system that is strong enough to withstand the size of the pandemic. We're even very lucky that we have a pandemic that fatality rate or the mortality rate is not that high. If it was in the other way around, we are much more severe considering the systems that we have. So we need much work around synthesizing data to be able to connect the dots all together. Like I was making a case around lack of investment in education can have a much more sporadic effect on all of that issues. The second thing is also as a sector, investing much more in machine learning and artificial intelligence. Um, we have not accepted skill sets in data science in this environment. For example, I've done some review with the World Bank around how people have built machine learning systems in their procurement environment, where even from the contract, by them seeing the contract,
Mm,
where is what
mm,
is structured, they can know that this contract is susceptible to fraud. Someone is trying
mm.
being able to, and we might not be able to, by the time you're analyzing 19,000 projects, you might not be able to have the human intuition to be able to see everything. But we also need to start
Exactly.
engaging more advocacy with in the explosion of data that is happening right now. How do we embed artificial intelligence and machine learning in all of that so that we can draw more insight to be able to strengthen our advocacy, or we can be much more workful of certain things that we know can actually go wrong. I also think that more of the work on data is also that we need to communicate it better. We are doing our best with infographics, maybe with audiovisual videos and things like that. But I'm always on the side of simplification. We need to make data much more simple and accessible for people. It can't just be data for data's sake. It has to be data for you to make much more meaning and for you to raise the level of conversation within an environment. So being able to research more work around
Mhm,
how do we communicate data and how do we build stories, quality stories and
mhm.
impactful stories out of data is something that I feel that is also critical for the future of advocacy and the rest.
I, s- I see. That is really interesting. So now, um, with regards to the institutions in Nigeria concerning the
Mm,
use of data, where are they with even using the data that they have? Because, like, for example, now BudgIT has been able to use the data from the budget office. I know that there are other budget there are budgets in each of the ministries, departments, and agencies. Like, how have they been able to even use the information that they get from the public to make decisions? Or is it just like you said in the beginning of the conversation, some people enter into government office to enrich themselves? Is there any connection between the public and the government actually saying, okay, even if I'm going to pocket some money, like how how have they been able to use some of that data to, I don't know, do something for society? And do you feel like BudgIT has a role to play there, or has there been any reception, even if your team has tried, or where is that going from there? Because this is something I'm just thinking about.
There have been reception, but I won't say, like I said, I won't say maybe not overly excited. There have been reception.
Okay.
For example, we've worked with National Assembly to remove some items from the budget to ensure that certain items do not make the budget. So if it does not make the budget, then there's no opportunity for procurement to happen. So we've worked. One thing we must understand, that the budget itself is a law, is an act of the National Assembly. So once it's in the budget, someone has an opportunity to ensure that procurement happens. So not getting it inside the budget is even the first stage of even being able to fight corruption. So what we have done is we work with the National Assembly, and we're still meeting the Appropriations Committee of the National Assembly again, to be able to engage them on some certain serious issues that we have found in the budget, why it is necessary for us to put an end in this regard and to be able to make adjustments. We are also in touch with the budget office around all the issues that we highlight. They read our reports. We still spoke to one of their officials recently. And the thing about Nigeria is that, my own little understanding, I worked in the system briefly in a very short period, and is that a lot of people are in space, and there is no, without a strong political will from the top, and I'm talking about very, very top, you cannot actually make any change happen. For example, a minister will not tell another minister to go and make any adjustment or make any sense of reform. The minister, there's a possibility that conversation is going to really be useful, except like someone like the presidency confirms and say, I really want this and this and this and that. And that's exactly the challenge we have in Nigeria. Everybody's trying to just walk around his own narrow interest, and that's what you so we need more work on enforcing political will in reforming the budget process. We need more work. If it means that we are going to engage the presidency, because without us not going all the way to that top, in terms of enforcing reforms, we might not be able to make any changes.
I see. That makes a lot of sense, because everybody's working in their silos in government, and everybody just wants their own interest. Nobody's so it kind of makes it challenging to look at the whole. I know they say the whole is the sum of its parts, but some, if the parts ain't adding up, then we can't. So it's really something. But I wanted to just get a sense from you, like, guys, if there are any questions, please put it in the comment section. So as he's highlighting his final thoughts, if you have any questions, we can include that before we end this session. Okay. So I just wanted to find out from you, do you have any final thoughts for us in terms of what, in terms of data for advocacy, which is what, BudgIT is currently doing? Like, what are some of your final reflections?
Thanks. So final reflections for me is that we need to work with other organizations. We need to start analyzing other sources of power, citizen power. I mean, trade unions. Associations like trade associations, trade unions, traditional rulers, faith-based organizations. And I think that's one of the future conversations we're looking at. How do we strengthen the partnerships within those environments. I mean, that is not just
mm,
we broaden the term civil society to be much more inclusive, to bring
mm,
other people in. That's something that is extremely
mm,
striking. The second
mm,
thing, which is something we budget is significantly invested in. The second thing is we also need more leaders, more civil society leaders, more young civil society leaders. And I know the challenge is very challenging for young leaders to emerge, for young leaders to be able to push their work forward. But for people like Budget, we want to be more involved in that whole process. How do we get more young leaders to be able to do well? And how do we support them? And that's why we created Civic. There's a young guy called Nelson Olani who's built Gavo, Citizens Gavo, and he does work around getting justice for underserved and indigent people. We need more leaders like that, you know, within the environment. Someone, because budget itself is stretched. I have to be very honest with you. We need for your state, Osun State, Ondo State. We need a tracker for each of the states. We need a non-profit dedicated to National Assembly. We need a non-profit dedicated to the judiciary. We need a non-profit dedicated to health and going all the way down there. So we because you and that's what I feel that we need more leaders, more young leaders who are able to apply new innovative ideas, to be able to get things done. And that's one of the bodies that I think I want to work on in the next 5 years. How do we get more new young leaders in the civic space?
mm. Interesting. So getting more young people that would,
Mm,
which is one of the challenges working with civil society here in Nigeria, and even doing some
mm,
of the training and coaching that I do,
mm,
is you need to be more targeted in what you're
mm,
doing. So if you have if you're working on prison reform, or you're working on the
mm,
judiciary, there are so many layers even in that thematic area alone that you would never
mm,
stop working. So it's just
mm,
making sure that you have leaders in certain thematic areas that can even work with you and say, okay, why don't you track the budget here? Just let us know what's going on, so it's not so that budget is not so overstretched. And
mm.
building new leadership is very, very key. Even as we are transitioning to the fourth industrial revolution, even as we are looking at Nigeria within the next 100 years, these leaders, no matter how much they try to hold on to power, they're gonna die off. So
Yeah.
how is that going to happen? So I do have a question here from Ebenezer Egwatu. He says here, how easy has it been for your organization to access relevant information from government agencies to build their data? Does the government agencies cooperate with them willingly? I think you had answered that question briefly, so I don't know if you have any other thing else to add.
I mean, it's not easy to get the government to be there because in budget we have what we call the 4-week test for data. We say it must be
Mm-hmm.
accurate, it must be timely, it must be
Mm-hmm.
comprehensive, and it must be actionable. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Government can publish data, but it doesn't still meet those 4-week tests. It doesn't make sense to the people. It's not comprehensive enough to elicit
Mm-hmm.
any level of action. So
Mm-hmm.
in a way, we always still ask that not just publish data that makes meaning and that can come back, that can convey conversations with people. And a lot of times we do a lot of support for government officials, for government agencies. Let me put it that way, like NITI, Nigeria Electoral Council, even the National Assembly. We always, if they ask for our support, we're always willing and excited to provide that level of support to them. So it's not been easy for our organization to access those data, but what we do is two things. The ones that's made available, we interrogate, we engage on it. The inadequate ones, we advocate that more data should be provided. Either using the Freedom of Information Act, or by even going on social media and raising the noise level. So that's what we want to do.
Okay. Okay. I think he has a follow-up question. I think you touched on it in terms of some of the challenges that you face in getting the information, because you have a certain criteria in
Mm,
what you find as valid data. But
mm,
what are some of the challenges you faced, and how have you handled those challenges?
I mean, the challenges you face when it comes to getting data, like I said, is getting the old data, and getting the data that is useful and meaningful to people, that can elicit action. That's the big challenge we face. Second one is also the format which data is presented. Sometimes you have this scanned PDF that you require enormous resources to be able to convert, to be sure that the data is accurate and things like that. And so one thinks that if the data is published in a Excel or a CSV format, is maybe tampered with. That's not true. So in a way, being able to get that size of resource that we need to be able to analyze and convert data and validate it is also a huge challenge for us. Certainly, third is citizen interest. I mean, I know it's very interesting, easy to get people to be excited about Big Brother Nigeria. I mean, about those social ideas, but governance issues also should go mainstream. That's one of the things that worries us too. Being able to open the data
Exactly.
and convey and engage with it, and to be the much more useful country. So that's one of the key things really going on in our minds.
Yeah, that's really something. That's really something that you say that in terms of trying to get the right type of data. You get what
Mm.
I'm saying, and then also how
Yeah,
it's received by the
yeah,
society. Because, like you
yeah,
said, in mainstream is more social. You have these reality TV shows and stuff like that,
mm,
but actually really mainstreaming
yeah,
transparency and good governance, and trying to make that happen. But Seun, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much for your
mm,
time. Really, really, really talking about the use of data and the importance of data in the
mm,
use for advocacy. You said,
mm,
"Hey, the data already exists. We just took it, distilled it, analyzed it, partnered with the right stakeholders, and addressed some of the key issues. And then now our next step is to now build leaders that will
yeah,
then now further advocate and track
mm,
some more data in their chosen thematic areas, so that we can move forward and make a better country. Because, like I said before, no matter how much this leadership decides to hold on to power, they're gonna die off. You can't fight. You
yep,
can't fight longevity.
nature,
So after
yeah,
nature is going to call. So this information is going to be useful for the next generation to come in and say, hey, how do we move our nation forward? And even the
mm,
continent as well, in terms of because I think when I was doing my research on you somewhat a part of the Open Government Partnership. So
yeah,
that is really huge. So the
mm,
Open Government Partnership is going to call for transparency. So that's another bigger conversation on transparency, accountability, and the use of data to make that happen. So again, Seun, this has been such a pleasure as
mm,
always. Thank you so much, and we're going to continue to have some of these rich conversations. Maybe invite you back for a panel discussion on data, on advocacy, and on nation building. So thank you so much. Thank you, and,
thank
and
you
the
so
community
much.
is thanking you as well. Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
thank you, everyone. I hope you being here
so
too. Thank you, thank
so
you.
you take it. So you take care of yourself, and continue to keep up the great work.
Thanks so much, F4. I will do that. All the best. Thank you with all you do. And thanks for doing this. And thanks for doing this developing sector service. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks so much.
much. All right, take
Have a
care.
good one.
You heard it with Seun Onigbinde. He is the co-founder of BudgIT. He has spoken about data for advocacy. So we're going to just keep having development technocrats to come and have conversations with us about how we can change the world. So again, thank you so much, you all, for coming, and you all take care and have a wonderful day. Take care.
the environment was cleaned up.
The first time I was hearing about this stuff, it was totally new to me.
Ede with social impact consulting.